All right, so maybe you just watched my video on injury prevention and why that's a silly concept, and I'm on a roll now because now I'm going to talk about another stupid conversation. Maximum recoverable volume versus minimum effective dose. Gosh, there's probably some validity to this conversation. What's the minimum effective dose versus what's the maximum recoverable volume? And I've said before, and I'll say it again, I think the whole concept of maximum recoverable volume is dumb. Why is that dumb? Because if you are an in-season athlete, by the way, I'm not talking about bodybuilders, so if you're a bodybuilder, go ahead and do maximum recoverable volume. That's totally fine. No one gives a shit. You are not expected to perform on Sunday or Saturday if you're a collegiate athlete. And anyways, the point being here, in-season athletes, not bodybuilders, athletes, need to still be able to perform. So it would make sense for us to actually leave something in the tank all the time. You don't know. You're fourth string. You may sit on the bench. You can go ahead and squat till your legs are so sore you can barely walk the next day. And for all you know, you're not going to get in the game anyways. But you know what? Some weird freak thing happens and the first string quarterback gets injured and the second string quarterback gets injured and the third string quarterback gets injured and suddenly you're in the game. How'd that happen? You don't even dress for most of the games. And suddenly now the first and second string quarterback got injured in practice. The third string quarterback gets into the game because he's not used to playing. He gets injured and now you're in. So it makes sense for you to do minimum effective dose. Like, what is the minimum you need to do in order for you to continue to make progress without burying yourself? But here's the deal, and this is the part that I really want to jump to, is that outside of beginners, the minimum effective dose and your maximum recoverable volume are actually going to intersect. At some point, the minimum amount of work that you need to do in order to make progress is going to be equal to the amount of work you're capable of recovering from. If it didn't happen that way, people would just get infinitely stronger. If it didn't happen that way, people would just get infinitely bigger. So you currently squat 1,200 pounds. That's amazing. Congratulations, you have arrived. How much more work do you need to do to squat 1,300 pounds? What's the minimum dose? And that minimum dose is going to be very close to the maximum recoverable volume. It's going to be all that you can handle. You are Big Rammy and you are 400 pounds and you have more muscle than practically anyone on this whole planet, Nick Walker. The minimum dose of work you need to gain another pound of muscle is going to be very close to the limit that you're capable of recovering from. So this is just the reality of sport and even bodybuilding, actually, for that matter. I realize it just came back to bodybuilders. At some point, you're going to see these two things intersect. Over time, your minimum effective dose is going to go up. And presumably, because you're getting fitter, your maximum recoverable volume is going to go up. However, your minimum effective dose is going to go up at a faster rate than your ability to recover. And so eventually, you're going to reach a point where the minimum dose that you need to make progress is going to be equal to the amount that you're capable of recovering from. This is why when you listen to really intelligent people like Brian Carroll, I recommend you go listen to him. He talks about how he would squat heavy once every 10 days. Why? Why wouldn't he just squat every single day? I mean, you're squatting 1,300 pounds. Why not just squat 1,300 pounds every single day? Because you can't recover from it. So in order for him to get stronger, he has to squat heavy. But for him to squat heavy means it takes him 10 days to recover from it. So as you can see, his minimum dose is that he needs to squat heavy every 10 days. But also, that's all the sooner he can recover. So at some point, your minimum effective dose basically runs into your maximum recoverable volume. So now you've reached a level where the amount of work you need to do to make progress really is the limit that you're capable of recovering from. Hence, this is a stupid conversation. It really doesn't make any sense. You need 5 sets of 5. I'm just pulling a number out to make progress right now. And eventually you're going to need 6 sets of 5 and you're going to need 10 sets of 5. And eventually you're going to reach a point where for you to put another 5 pounds on your squat, you need to do 10 sets of 5. And also, that's the most that you can recover from. So I wish I had a little whiteboard here. I do have a whiteboard, but I didn't think to pull it out before this video. The point is being that, if we picture these lines here, your maximum recoverable volume is going like this, right? Because we're getting fitter over time. But your minimum effective dose is going like this, right? It's going up way faster than your maximum recoverable volume across time. So in 10 years of training, your maximum recoverable volume went like that, but your minimum effective dose went like that. And so eventually these two lines cross. And presumably even, there will be a point where the minimum dose of work that you need actually exceeds your ability to recover, in which case that is your limit. There has to be a limit. Like, do I think you've hit your limit? No, I don't. I think 99.9% of people will never hit their limit. Like, quit your job and train full time, do nothing but eat, train, and sleep. And maybe you'll hit your limit. For the rest of us who have a job and have limited resources, there's only so much food you can eat because the limiting factor is you can't afford more food. You can only sleep so much without getting fired or divorced, because at some point your wife's going to be like, yo, dude, you sleep 16 hours a day, get the fuck out of bed. And your boss is going to call you and be like, yo, your job, gone. And now you can't afford food. And the other thing to it too is then we also have a limited amount of time to train, because you probably have kids and a life and you have your job. So like, what are you going to do? Train 8 hours a day? There's a limit. So most people will not reach a physical limit, but presumably, if we think about this logically, if you did live in some bubble, or you're a billionaire, you don't need to work ever again, you're still going to reach a point at some level where you're going to reach the limit of what your body's capable of doing. And so for you to make any more progress would require a dose that exceeds your ability to recover from it. That's just a theoretical thing, but I'm sure you can understand it because the people who follow me are intelligent. I don't get, the low IQ people following me because they get bored. Congratulations to you. Yeah, I want to take a moment here. This is uncharacteristic of me. I want to take a moment here to say thank you to all the people who do follow me, because some of you send me questions and they're really intelligent. Even on Instagram, I get really intelligent questions from people, and I appreciate that more than I can even begin to express. I'm a weird person. As you can tell from this video here, this is totally uncharacteristic. What the fuck does it have to do with video? And here you are watching it, and I want to say thank you, because I'm not your stereotypical fit fluencer, or whatever you want to call them, fluencers, fit influencer, whatever you want to call these people. I'm not out there posting, here's my 6-pack abs and I'm taking my first form supplements and drinking Athletic Greens powder. Like, I don't do that. Don't follow me for a promo code. I don't have a promo code for Merrick Health. In fact, I don't recommend that you ever use Merrick Health. In fact, I recommend you go to a real doctor. Don't use telemedicine. Go see a doctor in person so they can actually examine you. That's a big thing for me, actually. I really think that you need to see your doctors in person. There's so much more to a medical exam than just take a look at my blood work. Anyways, point being, the people who follow me, you follow me because of the fact that you actually appreciate the fact that I put out information, and I'm not just posting endless selfies of my butt. In fact, I don't think I've ever posted a selfie of my butt. Maybe I'll start doing that. Comment below if you want me to post pictures of my butt. Do the booty exercise. I don't know what booty exercise is out there, but I'm sure I'll come up with one. Maybe I'll call it a shoulder bridge, which was invented by Alan Calvert and then renamed the hip thrust. Yes, there's no such thing as a hip thrust. It's actually called a shoulder bridge. You guys can go find the book. It was written by Alan Calvert in like 1924. Anyways, back to our point here. And like I said, thank you so much for following me. The intelligent way of looking at this is to recognize that on some level, the minimum effective dose and the maximum recoverable volume are actually the same thing. So it's really a rather silly discussion that we even discuss this at all, because it really only applies to like beginners and intermediates, and no one is going to be at that level forever. So if you're smart about things, you do the minimum effective dose because of the fact that, like, where do you go? It's like Spinal Tap. This one goes to 11. If you're already at 11, where do you go? It's like these guys that jump on steroids and stuff. And you know, I've said this before. They jump straight to taking grams of things. And it's like, why didn't you just start off with like 200 milligrams of testosterone? That's a steroid cycle. You are now super physiological. You are double a normal level. And then in the future, you increase that to 300, and then you increase it to 400, and then you increase it to 500. Why would you jump straight to 5 grams? Like that doesn't make any sense. And so if you only need 5 sets of 5 to make progress, why would you do 20 sets of 5? What are you going to do? You work out for 45 minutes a day right now. What are you going to do 10 years from now? Work out for 8 hours a day? So if right now 45 minutes is enough, why would you do 8 hours? You want to increase slowly over time. It just makes sense because no one wants to spend their life in the gym. Even bodybuilders don't want to spend their whole life in the gym. They don't want to spend 8 hours a day lifting weights. They have other shit to do. Yeah. So there you guys have it. Minimum effective dose is really the best way for you to go because eventually, on a long enough timeline, minimum effective dose becomes your maximum recoverable volume.